Get out the insurance cards, get out the co-pays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by DrRoto.com.
So let's get to it.
Bring the bang!
Do it. It's another hard hits review. Bow. Man, we're just gonna rip and go. Of course, at the end of this episode, I will give out my IDP player pickup of the week, so you can take that to your seasonal teams. Man, close loss, wins loss. We'll talk about that. Got some good news. I'm definitely excited to talk. Just mad respect for the whole league. The Scott Fishbowl, that is. Scott Fishbowl 15. We'll be talking about that. Also, you will get the Macho Pick of the week. You get my player that I feel and will be on most of my lineups. Of course, last week, Jaylen Warren practically was injured, didn't finish that game. But 10 carries, 62 yards. He would have had a chance at a touchdown. He had caught, some passes. He was all over. He was on his way to a great game, and just injuries happened. He also killed me in one of my high-stakes seasonal leagues, which didn't make me a little happy about that. But at the same time, what can we do? We're just trying to do the best that we can. At the same time, provide all best information. We cannot see any injuries coming. So I just want to I'll talk a little bit about that when we get into the middle of this episode. Just expert awareness, things that experts sometimes have to be aware of when they're talking, opening their mouth, bad criticism, good criticism. It all goes hand in hand, but we'll talk a little bit about that as well too. Also, of course, I will give my full review of the UFC card. I will give out some of my bets, some of my DFS percentages that helped me cash, also a lot of my subs and pan bringers. You want to make sure you get over to DrRoto.com, use code word WIN, and become our rich friend. Yeah. Now, this show is live. So, if you have a question or anything like that, you can pop it in. Of course, I have my show planned out. We're just going to be talking UFC. But if you want to weigh in your thoughts on what you saw in that card, or maybe you disagreed, or maybe you took one of our bets, because I think a lot of you need to start playing our bets. Dan and I are putting out some of the best bets in the industry right now for the UFC. It has actually made me want to, at times, it makes me side goat the NFL. I am not lying to you. If you have listened to what I have said over the last few months, you'll see that the UFC, both betting-wise and DFS, has literally enthralled me. It is like the Ring. Sneagle, my friend. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even a Lords of the Rings guy, but I will make a lot of Star Wars references every so often. By the way, I want to say congratulations to Valentina Shevchenko for not only showing Weili Zhang that she is the most dominant, one of the most dominant women MMA fighters of all time. She put a clinic on. She went out there and simply owned, right? Now, me and Dan did pick Della Maddalena. We will get to that. But I also want to extend a thank you to Islam Makhachev, the reigning and soon to be defending welterweight champion of the world. Woo! Boy, did boy wrap up JDM. People want to say JDM looked like a little kid that was waiting for his dad to get done beating his ass. That's exactly what he did. And when he came out that 5th round, don't tell me you never seen or felt that face on you. That he was physically disgusted with his performance. Wow. And as each round happened, it got progressively worse for JDM. And he's a great fighter. A lot of people want to throw a conspiracy out there already. He didn't throw punches. He held back. I don't think this was an Alex Pereira moment. This was a JDM moment. This was, he got wrapped up by literally a god, the Lord Vader of the UFC, the Darth Vader, the new age. This is who Islam Makhachev is, and he is now the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world. And that is on my list and many other people's lists. I needed to see this fight. He dominated him, and he deserves that title. Love it or hate it, that's just my opinion, but that's what we do. We say it with our chest. You feel my energy? Yeah! Woo! All right. Let's have a little bit of outlaw. Cheers, Colorado. Except for that Denver team. You kind of spoiled my nice parlay that I had for all my football people at in the subs only Discord at Dr. Roto. But you can only get that right there. But look at this, man. This was an amazing card. There was just great fights all up and down. And we might as well just get right to it, because I'm going to do a little bit of the review of the card, and then we'll flip to the bets right after that. And I won't try to take all y'all. I want to say thank you to everybody that is in live. I will, of course, have my Macho Pick of the Week, and I will have my IDP Player of the Pick of the Week. I mean, it's almost like I've been on the team for a minute, and now I'm just going to make the full bend over. So that's going to really help you. They got a juicy game this week. And even though it's a division rival of a team that I love, we're just going to keep it going. All right, let's start it out. We had Vaislev Borshev versus Matias Camillo. I had Camillo. That was an easy pick for me. I mean, Borshev looked good. I did play him on one DFS lineup. That was all right. He didn't do the best, but he wasn't really active, so he sucked. So that lineup sucked. It was like the only lineup that sucked. But Bangzer, this guy's name, Bysanger Sosurakev, hey, whatever, man. I took the day off of karate. I'm just having fun. Versus Eric Monaco. I picked Sosurakev. Of course, that worked out well for me. Knockout win. Angela Hill versus Fatima Klein. Boy, did I have me some Fatima Klein in this. I also have Fatima Klein on the DFS lineups as well, too. I think I actually gave that away. No, I did not do Klein on that lineup, but that's all right. Y'all still made money on that. Kyle Dukakis versus GM3. Boy, I mean, how many overs, unders, how many knockouts plus subs do you need? This was one of the Doskis was just in it. And the fact that we were able to get this fight done, and at this point, of course, my only loss, I'll bring that up next. Let's talk about Pat Sabatini versus Cheppy Mariscal. So far on this card, I'm winning. But I got to give Pat Sabatini amazing credit. And I also want to give credit to Blake from the Fight Club of Pain. You had brought him up to me. And I thought this fight was to go to distance. It did. And also, I knew that Cheppy was a dog. But Pat Sabatini made Cheppy look like a dog. And I love Cheppy. But, dude, he just got wrapped up. He got wrapped up practically the same way JDM got wrapped up. It was a domination. I'm not going to say it was a ragdolling. That's practically, it was close. It was close. But Sabatini, more power to you. I went with my heart on that thing. It was an upset. It's something I wanted to happen. Of course, on my picks, on my betting lines, did pick Sabatini. Another big, huge loss for a lot of people. 70% owned on the DFS slate. Malcolm Wallmaker losing to, I'm not even going to mention his name, Ethan Hawke. I'm going to call him Ethan Hawke. Because Ethan Ewing went in there like a hawk and slapped up on Wellmaker. Wellmaker, you looked soft. It looked like when you got that last win, you let it all go to your head. You just, even when you were in the ring, you were just looking up at the lights like, oh, what was that? What was that, bro? Like, I'm a point fighter. I'm in it all the time. And we're sitting here at the same time trying to get into what's going on with that. But here we are. You're odd in the odd light, and you got odd on the cards. You also killed a couple of my lineups. Those lineups did score cash because he was active enough to get some good money. Even though, I mean, he was cheap. He was still 8,400 on DK. Blanchfield versus Cortez. Woo! Oh, man. If y'all didn't even see that coming, I picked Blanchfield. Got the win on that. Of course, Kopylov versus Gregory Rodriguez. I picked Rodriguez. Dariush, as Dan and I talked about, this is where the Fight Club of Pain actually weighed in. I actually have some comments coming in right now. What's up, everybody? How you doing? Marlos, good to see you. My Joy Journey. And Cornelio, What's up? Good to see y'all. Happy to see that y'all made it in for a little bit of fun. We're talking UFC. We're talking UFC card, of course. Macho Pick at the end of the episode, as well as my IDP waiver wire pickup of the week. I stand by these picks every single week. This year, we've only had one Macho Pick fail. One. And last week, I'm not going to consider 10 points in an injury a fail. He still scored points. It's better than a first play injury where you get nothing and then he's out and then your DFS lineup looks like crap. But at the same time. So I will backtrack Aaron Blanchfield. Woo-wee. Did you see those numbers we got? We got the plus 700 on the tap. We also got the plus 550 for the tap. It was 450 on the tap for that fight too. Again, these are things that Dan and I practically look at all the time. Now, everybody can give you the same kind of finishes. Oh, it's going to be a knockout. Oh, it's going to be over. It's going to be under. But the thing is we try to, on the Fight Club of Pain, explain why we feel that this knockout is going to happen, right? And that's what happens with some of these fights. Now that we're to the main card, I can actually flip this around. So to round out everything before I go with the main card and talk about what the Fight Club of Pain did, I'm going to say I went 11-3 overall. That, of course, included Cheppy Mariscal losing, Wellmaker losing, and for some reason, me just hoping that Della Maddalena would win. But on the Fight Club of Pain, we both knew that, and just like I said, that Darth Vader was going to beat the New Hope, Jack Della Maddalena. And just like Star Wars Episode 4, that's exactly what happened. So, we'll just roll it up into it. Benoit Saint Denis, knockout, first and second round, plus 200. Easily, knockout sub, negative 118 overall. Moneyline distance, no. Got that for a plus 293. Knockout for the fight, of course, was negative 110, and the decision, no bet, negative 260, all played into our lines. Also, the distance, no, was a negative 260. All of those bets hit. All of those bets were suggested live by Dan and I on the Fight Club of Pain on Thursday. And we will be live again this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time talking about UFC Qatar. So let's flip it along. We both picked BSD. Let's move along to my, hold on. Yeah, look, I just got these smart glasses, and they're not like the nerd glasses because my nerd glasses over there and I can't reach them. But this is my boy Carlos Prates, the fighting nerds. Ooh, yeah. Man, that's what I'm talking about. You fighting nerds, people, haters, y'all can just go, stick it, whatever you got to do. Because my boy went out there late. Now, look, King Leon of Edwards, the Kings of Leon Edwards came in there soft as shit, just like that music, right? But what happened? Carlos Prates said, I want some salsa. I want some move. And he stepped in, and if you looked, he looks down at Edwards' foot, sees his stance, switch, fight theory. Yeah. What's up, Cosner? And that's, of course, I'm responding to people that are listening to this on the audio replay back. There are people commenting in the comments, so I want to say thank you for all your comments. But I'm telling you right now, he stepped in and pop boy. And you got the most internet thing. You got Prates making fun of him, getting punched in the face. The picture was funny, but Prates getting punched in the face literally says, this is a small man on my back. He has no power. I'm going to knock him out. So, even though he did, we had our money on the third minute in round 2 at a plus 2,200. We were so close to getting that. But, of course, we had money line and distance, no, plus 134. Prates. First, second, and third. 250 plus 330. Boom. We said to target the second round. Under 2.5 rounds plus 112 decision no bet on the Prates side is negative 330. And, of course, knockout in points for Prates was negative 185. We, Dan and I, gave Leon Edwards, Kings of Leon Edwards, no chance. And just like no chance, he had no chance in hell. He got whooped up. But I like Edwards. I just, at this point, man, bro, what? You got tap by Brady. We'll talk about you, bro. We'll talk about you, Sean Brady. But you got tapped, bro. And at the same time, you got knocked, bro. Now, it's back. It's back. Something happened. Your hands are pillows, bro. Like, okay, look, Leon, you got to get back. There's a little more strength, and your body looks great, but your striking's got to get back up. And jumping on people's back isn't always going to work if you're going to do nothing. Don't punch him. Threaten the submission. Do something. But when you're just fighting somebody that's more powerful than you just lose. That's the way it goes. So that's what happened to you, brother. On the decline. Yep, exactly. I'm gonna throw that up there for everybody to read what Cosner said right there. I completely agree with this right there. He practically said, brother Leon has been on the decline. His coach from the Kimura fights that hyped him up weren't in his corner. Yeah, yep. And so, and that almost goes back to the Wellmaker part of this. Because, like, Wellmaker, when he went out there, he looked flat. It was not even, like, his flatness. It was, like, like he looked dazed looking into those lights. Go watch the beginning of Malcolm Wellmaker when he gets in that ring. He just looks like, it looked like he just was looking into plexiglass or whatever. I don't know. He was looking into another dimension, that's for sure, because that's what happened to him. But I can see you agree with that. He got it. But wait. So me and Dan have Prates, of course. But the next fight, Sean Brady versus my guy, Michael Morales. Woo! Oh, man! Michael Morales has single-handedly won me so much money this year. I am totally excited. Michael Morales, if you watch this podcast, I will interview you better than anybody will ever interview you. And that goes for any UFC fighter. I am a crazy riot to have a fun talk to, and I will do that. But I will tell you, Michael Morales smoked Sean Brady. The way we said it, the way I said it on the Fight Club of Pain. I thought Sean Brady would get it. No. Morales was playing him, and his size. Every time Morales came forward, Brady's face said, whack, 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 whack. Right? Whack, whack, whack. Bro, this Saturday in the championship match, I'm going to be going whack, 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 whack to my opponent. Because that's what I'm doing. Because this Saturday, I get the championship dinner for my point fighting season in the MA Tour. Also, there's a day of champion. They're going to give out, it's a free thing. It's for next year's points. You get free points for next year. You get up on that, and everything all's on that too. Also, you get called and crowned the grand fighting champion of the day. I want to be the grand fighting champion of the day, even though I am the grand points champion. I want both titles. I'm about to double belt up in here, right? And at the same time, while all that comes in, I'll be eating dinner while we're getting all this money made off of UFC Kato, right? But look, round 1 knockout, plus 550. Knockout 1 and 2, plus 500. Knockout in points, 120. Under 2.5 rounds, plus 124. Of course, we had the third minute of round 1, 1300, or third minute of any round, 1300. We were right there, dialed in. And I mean, I see why Dan went the money line and distance on Sean Brady, because I was a little worried about Sean Brady. But you know what? Again, this shows what Fight IQ is all about. And that is what makes the Fight Club of Pain good at what we do. I'll get to your question or your answer in a second, Cosner. I seen you just popped in there. We talk about the fight theory. We talk about the ability to be able to nail that finish. And we were able to not only nail the finishes, but nail it in multiple forms. And this is stuff you're getting at drroto.com. Also, on top of my 5-tastic picks, which went 4-1, 2 weeks in a row, of course, right now. I always make a parlay off of that. We'll get to the other stuff too. You get that. You get the free betting. You get the free bets. You get all that stuff. Now, when I'm at a tournament like last week, or I'm at a tournament and a championship dinner like this week, I am not available to actually put all those bets in there. Now, so that is just unfortunately. But guess what? After that, I'm in that room. And when I'm in that room all day and we're hot, we're rolling. That's what we do. That's the product you get at Dr. Roto when you come there for the UFC, NFL, NBA, NHL, and everything else. PGA in the offseason, but a lot of UFC in the offseason, because believe me, you want to be on that ride with the Fight Club of Pain. But man, so let's get to it right here. Boom, I got you. So I think the Wellmaker situation was a classic case of overlooking your opponent, even on a short notice. I will agree with you on that 100%. It just like he just was caught up in that moment. I think we all get in that point too. The one loss I had about like 3 years ago, because practically in point fighting, I can have one fight or I can have 2 to 3 fights in one day. So that could happen this weekend. But at the same time, the one that I lost, I went to their territory, that exists. I went to their territory with their judges and his judges on him. They did not recognize my blitz technique, and when I fight in a tournament, mostly 5-point tournaments, like this past weekend, and I can't use my blitz technique, then I throw kicks, it muddles it down, and it honestly just drags things out in a match that shouldn't be. But the fact that people still grade karate like 1970 is what it is. But I'm not going to make any sense of that because my school is well known in the United States of America. We send people, we have world champions this year from all over the world. So, just not speaking on them, but that's the kind of product that I train with, that I'm going to be training and sparring with tomorrow. So, again, that's what we give. That's what we give to the Fight Club of Pain. Dan being an ex-boxer, amateur boxer, and wrestler, and then me being a current point fighting champion. So that is how we're looking at these fights. We give you picks, but we also want to talk about how these fights can become finishes. This week might be a little hard. There might be a little, things going over with the Sarukian and Hooker fight, but I mean, that fight's probably going under. But you'll have to check it out for that. But look, that's why I loved Michael Morales. Let's roll to Valentina Shevchenko versus Zhang Li. That fight, everybody knew that these next 2 fights were most likely going over. So for me, this is where I kind of just quieted, threw some money at some finishes that I already won. So the money line parlay that I had in the Subs Only Discord had already hit. Parlay of Pain already hit. And also the 5-tastic pits had already hit. 4-1, 4-1, and 4-1. All of it. So you're just making money all over the board right there when you play my picks at Dr. Roto. And we'll get to, picks and being all into that as well too. But at the same time, I like to explore those options because when you see something like a plus 2,000 on like a tap or something, or a knockout at a certain point, your unit can be $5. Throw a couple bucks on that. That's $40. Now you have more money to play in the NFL, more DFS money. And that's the thing that we try to weigh in. So, of course, we both picked Shevchenko. I was going into that show about to pick Wheelie. And the talk with Dan, the breakdown with Dan, is what ultimately allowed me to pick Shevchenko and get that. But, of course, a lot of money that I had for Shevchenko was knockout and points, which I got, and also money line and distance for both fighters. That was the number 1 play, and both these fights. We, of course, picked JDM, completely wrong, but as we said, we just knew Makhachev was going to come in, run him down, and hold him. I'm surprised he held him down as long as he did, but you know what? When you have a great fighter like Makhachev, then that's what you're going to get. And the fact that he was able to do that all across was perfect. I also want to throw a shout out to Ty Russ and sometimes this B Heels dude. But Ty Russ and me always seem to get matched up in a DFS contest on DK for the draft part. So DK has, if you don't know, DK has a draft UFC contest. And you literally get 4 fighters. You get 3 starters, 1 bench, best ball format. And those guys are always in there. We're always giving each other runs for money. 2 weeks ago, it was me. This week, Ty Russ got it. But it's just always fun to go back and see these names going in it. So again, 11-3 overall. I went 4-1 on the main card. Dan 3-2. It was that Sean Brady pick. I know. So Morales was around 25% owned on the draft on the DFS slates. So give or take whatever size contest she wears. Sassurkev was 27%. Now 30, 35, 4. Again, this is like small slate thinking when it comes to UFC DFS. That's good. You want under 30, at least in my opinion. Angela Hill, 6% owned, and she did okay. Not enough points. Definitely not a good play, but that's okay. But man, Gregory Rodriguez at 20%. That was a key. But I said this when the DFS slate started, when the event started, UFC 322 started. I went onto the X and I said, thank you for everybody not recommending Carlos Prates, because I did. And Carlos Prates is going to be the slate breaker on this slate. And lo and behold, a few hours later, Carlos Prates at 13% owned on most of the major slates was a killer of a deal. This is the stuff where I say, I go back to my boy Spice One. I got the nuts to pull the, I make sure that I hit the click button. I make sure that we explore those options, and that Carlos Prates at 8,900 on DraftKings was in all of my lineups. And it's not just because he's a funny nerd. It's because I felt that he had the chance to finish strong, both point-wise, in a decision, and have a chance for a knockout. I was willing to take the chance that Sean Brady would be able to tap him out, but I didn't think that was going to happen to our boy Carlos Prates. Funny nerds, hell yeah. So really like that. Also flipping over to the football scene, of course, Jalen Warren was around 40% owned. A lot of people were in on Jalen Warren, and so the Macho Pick became a little overpicked. But if you watch the Ultra Contrarian show on Friday when I was riding solo without Steve, unfortunately, that's because of my schedule, not his. Josh Allen. I said Josh Allen scores more than 25 DK points. He scored practically like 60. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, this is free information. Think about everything behind the paywall that you get, plus all the information, the start and sit questions with Dr. Roto on Sunday mornings. The slate's clear. The slate's clear. So, again, we've said all the bets, everything, another profitable week, and we're going to have another profitable week for UFC Qatar. Of course, Sarukian versus Hooker. It's going to be a great fight card. Me and Dan will probably cover 3. Maybe me and Dan will go over the rankings I just did. I just updated them. So maybe we'll want to talk about that. Maybe not. But he already knows that Makhachev is my number 1. So that's the best part about it. But also, all this stuff that I talk about and all experts talk about, and people that are willing to go out there and make calls like Carlos Prates and succeed and be able to defeat the simulators, because the simulators weren't popping them, right? 13%, they weren't popping them. There was no trains on them. So that is where the human element overrides the computer element. And that is also when it comes to the UFC, computers can tell you everything and all that you need to know, but I will stand by you. And there's a lot of big people that will use the same quote or also agree with me that when it comes to fighting, a fighter's sense is always more trustworthy than a computer. Because think about it, people. This computer is not getting into the ring and getting in there with any man or woman. It would get smashed within seconds. Broken screens, people. This is logic. A human that has been to war, has taken punches to the face, been slammed, choked out, elbowed, knocked out, kneed, hurt, not hurt, comeback story. Those are the people that are going to have better fight insight across the board. Those are the people that you need to get your information from when it comes to the UFC. That is why continuously, if you go over to the things, you can see all of my work. I do not hide it. I do take some losses. Look, I will be credible 100%. I do place losing bets. I also place those losing bets to learn and to feel the system. But when I go into my subs only Discord, you can bet that when I look at that fight, I will say, this is what it's going to do, but this is what I'm going to play. And you could ride that or not. I'm not going to go on the X and give these things out for free because most of the time I don't have time to do that. I'm fighting most of the time. We're in the dojo 4 weeks. This week alone, even though I took today off, I've literally been in the dojo for 2 weeks. We were at a tournament on Saturday. We're at another tournament on Saturday. We'll be in the dojo on Friday. We're in the dojo tomorrow. So that's exactly what you want in this. And so when I'm doing all that, of course, I'm not going to be able to get in there. But at the same time, when I say these bets, that's what I do. And I stand by them. And a lot of the people at Dr. Roto know sometimes I just make crazy bets. But where's the line? As I see a lot of people get mad at bettors or sharks or whatever you want to call people like that. I'm not that. I'm just a guy trying to win you money. That's all. That's all I'm trying to do. That's what Dan is trying to do. That's Fuego Steve trying to do. That is what Dr. Roto, Danger, Lou, Chris, everybody, Kick, man, everybody, Mark. I mean, the list goes on. Chris, again, there's multiple Chris's. Everybody is putting in, doing that. And this comes back to the biggest thing. Find your guy. I'm not always going to be right, but when I'm right, you want to make sure that you have your eyes on that because that's how you hit those plus 2,000 bets. When we went back to 2 weeks ago and I put that 7-line finish in the Discord for plus 23,000 and I went 5-7. So what I'm doing is round robining these fights and I'm doing it so well that even if you go 3-2 or 4-1 out of the 5 picks, you're winning money. And I'm doing this consistently. And it's been consistent in the Subs Only Dr. Roto, Subs Only Discord for a long time. But it's also what I preach. Always cover your ass. Always CYA. Always make sure you hedge in a certain way. Look, if you're heavy on this fight, of course I'm going to come back with knockout in sub with Brady. Of course I'm going to come back with sub in points for Brady, right? Because I'm going to win so much money, you just decrease your unit. If your unit's $10, throw in a $250 bet on some of these bets. Now, if you would have been part of the Subs Only Discord and actually had those numbers that we had with Blanchfield, you'd have the plus 700 and the plus 450. So right there, you're winning. You're winning. You win your money. But what really works out is, again, I set these up so that you win money throughout the night and that you're done. So when you go into the final rounds, the co-main event, as I said earlier in this podcast, and the main event, I've won all my money. I have a few bets on these, and it's my choice to keep that money for the NFL the next day, which I did, or throw more money down, which I did, and that's fine. It's a love-hate relationship between FanDuel, DraftKings, and people like me. But at some point, I see some of the people just tear it into people. You have to find an expert that's your style. If you are not aggressive, don't match yourself up with somebody that's aggressive. That's going to end poorly for you sometimes. But it will also end big. But you have to build your bankroll. In the UFC and the product that both betting sites, all the betting sites, most betting sites provide for the UFC on a DFS level, DraftKings is the best by far, especially with the DraftKings draft, the player draft. That's amazing. So that being said, you want to be part of that. That's what you can do. So for those lineups, I was able to cash. I ended up putting in 5 on DraftKings, 3 cashed, and FanDuel I did really well, even though I had, Wellmaker lose on that. And then my other lineup, the other fighter lose. What did I have? I had Wee Lee because Wee Lee was cheap. So that at the same time, even though they lost, they were able to generate somewhat of points. But you get those points from Prates and Morales and Sergey. So that's how we build it. You cover, you exploit, and you use. So that's what we teach. And now, yes, somebody could come at me and say, hey, you know what? Your pick sucked. All right, well, that's fine. You don't have to play that pick. But it's a pick. And when it hits, you can bet that I'm going to put it on the internet. And every once in a while I take it off. Like this week, I only did 2 of my picks. I did my Blanchfield pick, and I did my Morales pick because I stood on a mountain, screamed Michael Morales in the positive for everything was criminal. And everybody's like, yeah, whatever, he'd override. Even the sports book, yeah, he'd override. So guess what? He'd override, went and made sure that everybody played as much as he could reach, as long as everybody could hear my voice, to play Michael Morales again and win big money. And that was all, again, brought up and talked about on the Fight Club of Pain with Dan. One of the best. And I will put it on there. The UFC Sheriffs are one of the best UFC podcasts out there for betting and hitting massive knockouts, submissions, lines, and now parlays are just on fire. So take it for what it's worth, follow along, or hate. That's what we got for you. So, of course, this Thursday, we'll be doing the Fight Club of Pain at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Dan and I will be covering 3 fights. We did a big one last one. We practically covered the whole card. But this one, we're doing 3 fights. I mean, Dan probably only wants to do one. And that's definitely Sarukian and Hooker. Because Dan's like, I don't want these soup cans. But, like me, I try to at least serve the soup. So, we got 3 people. You'll find out those on the Fight Club. Of course, you will also get your Thursday night football bet. Going to next week, of course, with the UFC and then Thanksgiving. That's all the shows. The DFS shows are going to be really jumbled. So you'll have to definitely pay attention to my Facebook at Bring the Pain or my X at Heat Override. Also, head over to Dr. Roto on Facebook, YouTube, and the X. All formats. You want to get on that. Also, head over to my YouTube as well, too. So that way, you can be informed when I go live and when we're talking about this stuff. So let's get this stuff out of here. Let's get to why everybody came here. I know, because you don't want to hear me. You don't want to hear me talk about that. I'm literally the worst podcast with the best information. Yeah! Woo! God love that self-humidity, man. But that being said, the IDP pickup of the week, you want to go get this guy, is D Winners of the San Francisco 49ers. I gave out a clue earlier. Hey, danger. I'm knocking at your boy. That's because Bethune literally went into that game with a bang up and now has a high ankle sprain. I don't expect him to play a lot. That allowed for that. We've had 18 tackles in the past 2 games. Although Winters has went down with his snap count, that's fine. You're still able to get the points. Look, Winters is a guy that is right now 7% owned in most leagues. And if you got an injury and you're going into this week, the 49ers are playing the Carolina Panthers. So with that, you're looking at another 90 to 70% snap share for Winners. If there's a bet that you can find on Winners, it's probably going to be about 5.5, 6.5. Take it. He's probably going to have 8 to 10 tackles. So that's going to give you a positive. That gives you some spots, but that's all he's really doing. And that's fine. If you need somebody for tackles, you need to fill in for a week, take this guy. But I'm telling you, if this keeps going on and he keeps playing at this level, the level that he's now got into where he's starting to get a lot of tackles, then this is a guy that you want on your roster for sure. Uh-oh. Wait a minute.
Knock, knock. They was trying to get my boy Jalen Warren, the Pittsburgh Steeler. He wasn't a little steal. No way he fell down, but that's okay. He was on his way to a good game. But this week, I got a gem for you. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to let you know this. I will give you this stats. The past 3 games, because I did not include the 4th game, which was a plus 140-yard rushing attempt. Yes, this is going to be it. He averages 17 attempts against this team in the last 3 games. He averages 76 rushing yards in the last 3 games. He has also averaged 5 receptions in the last 3 games for a total of 48 receiving yards. The only problem is that he's only had 1 touchdown in the last 3 games against the Atlanta Falcons. Alvin Kamara is the Macho Pick of the week. Ooh, yeah. Because you know what? None of you are going to be on Alvin Kamara. But guess what? All the pain bringers and the people at Dr. Roto are going to be $5,500 on DraftKings, $6,100 on FanDuel. Oh, you want to see how you can get Jonathan Taylor in? You get him in He's coming off a bye week. He's fresh. Just before the bye week, they gave him the ball 22 times in a Saints win. The Saints can get it done this week. They can run the ball. And I don't want 22 rushes. I want my 17 rushes. I want my 5 to 6 targets. And I want that touchdown, Alvin Kamara, because you have now been anointed the Macho Pick of the Week. Oh, yeah. Watch it. Because when I get to the Ultra Contrarian show, which will be airing Friday because I will be gone all day Saturday, hopefully Steve can join me. If he can't, I got Karate Friday. We're filming a commercial. There's so much going on, people. This is what we do at Bring the Pain. I literally have a full schedule, tons of articles, tons of podcasts, tons of Ask to Beat, and tons of fun. But at the same time, so those are the rest of your shows. Also, make sure you get to the site. You'll have Doc's Roto Visionaries on Friday. You have everybody else's betting articles going in. You will have my betting article for the Thursday Night Football game, as well as a DFS lineup for the Thursday Night Football game on the Fight Club of Pain on Thursday. Remember, we are giving you DFS hero lineups, projections, simulations, and you can get 20% off your subscription at DFS Hero with the code word DOC as well. Code word WIN at Dr. Roto will give you a percentage off of your subscription so you can become our rich friend. We have the right cure for all of your fantasy needs. Best saying in all of fantasy sports. Nobody's got that one. And I'll put that on that. You can feel my energy, people. Yeah! Woo! All right, everybody. Have a great day. Enjoy it. If I don't see you before the turkey day, have a lot of turkey or eat ham or eat pizza or lasagna or whatever you do. But always remember to bring the pain. Ooh. Yeah! The Fight Club of Pain. Woo!
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. Until the next visit, be well and take care.